live chat update here from the Scarlet Lady cruise ship, Virgin Voyages, and today I have been based in Bimini. So this is not my normal location of the United Kingdom, of course, where I live. I am live streaming all of this from my holiday. Okay, events are happening daily. And because of the time difference between where I am in the world, it means that by the time I come on to do my live chat now with you guys, everything has pretty much happened that's going to in the day back at home in the UK. So I think I've got enough to cover pretty much everything from the day. But first of all, I would like to go back to yesterday's video and make some corrections because, of course, everything is developing and not everything is known. A lot of things have been speculation and there has been news that has been a little bit muddied in between different reporters, different sources, all that kind of thing. So first of all, I would like to clear up the question of which royal family members were with Her Majesty the Queen at the time of her death. And the answer to that is simple. It was Princess Anne and Prince Charles. No other royal family members were known to be with the Queen at the time of her passing. So it has been reported that Charles and Anne were, of course, the Princess Royal, were with Her Majesty. Everybody else had been informed, and where the waters got a little bit muddied was the fact that I think press had got wind that they were going to make their way up, and they hadn't actually made their way up. So I think it was about an hour, possibly an hour and a half, prior to the bulk of the royal family getting there. Of course, Prince William drove the Range Rover, which was carrying the Countess of Wessex, Prince Edward, and Prince Andrew. They arrived later, so they arrived after the Queen's passing. So I just wanted to correct that from yesterday's video because that's me. If something is not correct, I correct it. I do not leave you hanging. Okay, just so you know, I don't have my laptop working, so Matt, my partner, is reading comments, and any really important comments that he thinks that I should answer, he will shout out to me and I will answer, because all I can see is little tiny weeny comments in the corner of the screen, and these glasses, it's not cutting it. So hello to all of you and welcome to today's video. I can see lots of people saying sending their condolences. We'll get to those in a moment. First of all, I would like to clear up things about titles. So if you do have any questions about titles and styles, which I haven't covered, please leave a comment and hopefully I will get to it. But I'm going to try and cover everything first. So, of course, with a change of monarch, this historic change of monarch, because Britain has not seen a change of monarch in 70 years, everything is really new. Although, like I say, things have been rehearsed, things have been planned, there are protocols in place. But in terms of styles and titles, it means that all of the royal family members in the line of succession move up a spot. So actually, whereas the likes of Prince Harry have been pushed down the line of succession because of William and Catherine's children, he actually now moves back up a place. And so does everybody in the line of succession. But with regards to titles, of course, the main title change, of course, is Charles. He's no longer the Prince of Wales. He is now known as His Majesty King Charles III. Of course, his wife, Camilla, formerly Duchess of Cornwall, is now known as Her Royal Highness the Princess Consort. And I don't think she holds any other titles other than the ones... Well, no, that is it. She is Her Royal Highness the Princess of Wales. She's Her Royal Highness the Queen Consort. Next, of course, is William. William, now this surprised me somewhat because I was expecting Charles, because of course the Prince of Wales title is not automatic. It has to be bestowed by the monarch, and it can only be given, of course, to the heir to the throne. So now that William is heir to the throne, I was expecting for this to be bestowed upon William after the coronation. And the reason why I thought that is because almost immediately upon the Queen's passing, if you looked at the the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge's Twitter, it had updated to His Royal Highness the Duke of Cambridge, of Cornwall and Cambridge. So I thought they were going to be of Cornwall and Cambridge for the foreseeable future until the Prince of Wales style and title was bestowed upon William, but that was not the case. So Prince William has been made the Prince of Wales, which of course means that Catherine is now the Princess of Wales, and it is the first time we have had a Princess of Wales from when Charles actually divorced Diana, because Diana was not the Princess of Wales upon the time of her passing. William, don't be confused, William still holds the Duchy of Cornwall. He is still the Duke of Cornwall and Cambridge. You can be a double duke. He still remains that, and he has taken upon the Duchy of Cornwall, which he will derive his income for himself and Catherine and their children. And of course, when their children become of working royal age, that will be funded by the Duchy of Cornwall. Prince Charles is now funded by the Sovereign Grant and the Duchy of Lancaster. So just thought I would clear that up. So I think we're okay with styles and titles up to William and Catherine. Now, Prince Harry and Meghan have no change in style and title, but their children do. So Archie and Lilibet are now, technically speaking, HRHs and Prince and Princesses of the United Kingdom. However, Harry and Meghan would have to formally adopt those titles and styles for their children, of which at the moment they haven't done. So Archie and Lilibet remain as they were previously, but very much like the children of Edward and Sophie, Lady Louise Windsor and James Viscount Severn, when they get to 18, they could choose to adopt those titles and styles themselves. So we'll wait and see what happens there. The only other possible potential change of title and style could be Prince Edward, because now that the Dukedom of Edinburgh is in... upon Prince Philip's passing, the Dukedom of Edinburgh did go to Prince Charles, but now that he is monarch, he will be able to bestow that, redistribute that to Edward. That has not been confirmed, but watch this space because things could move quickly. It seems like Charles very much wants to get things settled, which is why I think he bestowed the Prince of Wales title upon William rather than waiting until after the coronation, because we may even get an investiture. We may even get an investiture of the Prince of Wales. William and Catherine have released some information and a statement saying that they will take time to get to know Wales. I think the relationship that Charles and Camilla during her time in the royal family have built up with Wales has been a long process. Of course, Prince Charles has held the Prince of Wales style and title actually from when he was 9, and then he was invested, he had his investiture, I think it was at 21. So he has had, you know, a long time to get to know Wales, the people of Wales, and I use, you know, a colloquial term for that, because he doesn't know everybody in Wales, but, you know, you get to know the mood, the vibe, the towns, the places, you get to build that relationship, and William and Catherine do not have that relationship with Wales yet, but they are committed to having a relationship with Wales. Are there any questions about styles and titles that you can see?
All the questions that have come up you've already answered.
Okay, that's fine. That's because I'm so good. Right. Charles, one of his first official duty as monarch, he met with the new British Prime Minister Liz Truss. He met her at Buckingham Palace. He travelled with Camilla from Balmoral. I think he travelled... I'm a little bit mixed up with my time zones at the moment. I think he travelled yesterday, or it was very early this morning, from Balmoral to Buckingham Palace. And I was on the phone to my mother, and she said that they actually paused the car at the gates of Buckingham Palace, where crowds have been gathering. They've been pinning flowers to the gates. People have been showing a very public outpouring of grief and respect for Her Majesty. They got out of the car and they spoke and met with people. Charles was wearing his black suit, of which he would go on then to record his address to the nation. So he met Liz Truss, And it was his first formal official duty as monarch, and it was really strange seeing the photos, and I watched a video of this happening, actually seeing him doing the Queen's, the former, well, Queen Elizabeth's role, if you like. It was weird seeing him referred to as Your Majesty. Liz Truss came in and she curtsied, and, you know, she said, "Hello, Your Majesty." And then the cameras went away because it's a private meeting, of course, once they'd had the basic introduction. So we don't know what they spoke about, but I'm sure, you know, it will remain private and confidential as the monarch would do. Prince Charles also has, you know, released information that he won't have the time that he used to have for his former charities and patronages. And he does say that other members of the family will kind of, you know, take up those causes that, not specifically his charities and causes, but the kind of themes, the environment, that kind of thing. So it's expected that William, maybe Anne, Edward, other working royals will kind of pick up on those themes. But he will not have time now to dedicate to those kinds of causes now that he is actually king. So there has been a big shift, and Charles most definitely knows it. His time will now be taken up with official royal duties. Red boxes will be coming to him wherever he is in the world every single day, full of official paperwork, government things that he will need to sign and pass into law. He will do all the ceremonies of state. He has councils to attend. His job, his role has now completely 100% changed. So he will be relying on the other members of the family to undertake, well, to carry on the work that they have been doing, but also take up the mantle for that void that will be left with him. Prince William has said in the past that when he does ascend to the Prince of Wales style and title, and of course the Duchy of Cornwall, that he will be doing it in his own way. So we expect to see a new relationship kind of forged with Wales over time, but also a new way of doing things, because it is a new era for William and Catherine. They have now been elevated. The only way for William now to be elevated up is, of course, when Charles himself passes away. But we don't want to talk about another change of monarch so soon, because that would just be a little bit too much, wouldn't it? So Charles has met with the Prime Minister. There was a public service of condolence that happened. I've seen little clips of it. There was lots of really kind of somber music. So if you do want to watch that, I think you can catch it on YouTube under the BBC. So have a look on there. I'm sorry I don't have my laptop, or else I would find it for you and I would link it. But anyway, there has been a public service of condolence. There have been gun salutes. People have been wearing black. Back in the UK, people have been publicly showing emotion at the gates of Buckingham Palace, and of course that focus will probably shift more to Windsor in the coming days. I want to talk now about Charles. I keep wanting to say Prince Charles, but it's King Charles's address to the nation, and this, of course, is his first address to the nation as king. We will, of course, the next likely address to the nation will probably, unless there's something else in between, will probably be the Christmas broadcast, of which, you know, the Queen has done all of them in the past. And now, to think forward ahead to Christmas, we're going to have King Charles delivering that, and of course the audio message as well to the Commonwealth. So Charles's address to the nation, I did watch it. I watched it whilst I was on the beach in Bimini. And I have to say, I had my sunglasses on, I had my visor on, and tears were streaming down my face because it was full of emotion. And my mom, I'm going to choke up now, and my mom said that she did the same thing. So I think a lot of people in Britain have been saying that although they may have been holding back their emotions, when they watched this televised address, they broke. It broke us, people. We blubbed. We broke down and we just blubbed our heads off. But that's okay, because it is kind of like a public grieving. And I was saying, well, we were talking, Matt and myself, and we were saying that it just doesn't seem real. We're watching all this on the TV and it just doesn't seem real that the Queen isn't here. But I have to say, from what I've seen so far from Charles, it seems a very smooth transition. He seems like he's taken to it like a duck to water. Of course, he has had so much practice, and of course, we have had this kind of smooth handing over, almost a smooth transfer of power from when the Queen has been starting to hand more things and duties, responsibilities, tours to the younger generation. So it does seem so far like a very well-oiled operation, but it still doesn't seem real. I mean, let me know in the comments, does it seem real that the Queen is no longer here? It just doesn't seem real. Maybe it will hit a little bit more when the funeral takes place, because we'll actually get a visual to put to what's happened. I do want to skip back slightly to the time of death. There's been much speculation as to what time the Queen actually passed away. And I know, because some people have commented in my videos, that some YouTubers, some unscrupulous YouTubers, have been reporting that they know the time of death. There has been no official release of time of death. Hear me again. There has been no official release of the time of death. All we know is what time the statement was released that she was under medical supervision and the doctors were concerned. And we have the announcement. We have the announcement of her death, which I think was 6:30 p.m. We do have one other confirmed timing, and that is Liz Truss, the British Prime Minister. So we're not talking source information, we're talking Liz Truss, the British Prime Minister. She said that she was notified of the Queen's passing at 4:30 p.m. So the time of death was somewhere between when the announcement that she was under medical supervision was released and 4:30 p.m. Now, being the Prime Minister, I would imagine that she was told pretty much the moment, and I think it's almost, I think I remember reading the London Bridges Down protocols, and I do believe that the Prime Minister is supposed to be informed pretty much immediately. The Prime Minister is supposed to be almost the first person that is told. So that leads me to believe that the time of death was around 4:30 p.m. Now, anyone else who is claiming that they know what time she passed away, it's baloney. Right, I can move on, can I? I think I can. So what's happening next? We have the proclamation tomorrow. So although upon the moment the former monarch passes away, the new monarch, the heir to the throne, is king or queen, in our case a king, instantly. There is not even a second where we don't have a monarch, but the formal proclamation is actually tomorrow. So Charles will go to St James's Palace, which is actually the proper seat of the monarchy. Buckingham Palace is not the seat of the monarchy, it is St James's Palace. That is still actually the seat of the monarchy. He will meet the Accession Council. I think they meet first before he gets there, and they discuss whatever they discuss, and then Charles joins them, and there is, I think it's a formal declaration is made. So although he is king, the formal declaration will be made tomorrow at the Accession Council. I'm thinking that the next big thing that will be televised, that people will be wanting to see, is of course Queen Elizabeth's coffin. So the Queen's coffin is still, well, it's actually at Balmoral at the moment, but because she passed away in Scotland, it will be moved to the Palace of Holyrood House. Now, reports are coming in that that is expected to happen and take place on Sunday. So we'll have to wait and see if that is correct, but tentatively I'm going to say that we will see the coffin being moved on Sunday. That, of course, will be draped with the royal standard. It has already been said, and again, I don't know how true it is, that there are a collection, a bunch of her favourite flowers. There's an arrangement made up. I don't know what style or configuration that's in, but of her favourite flowers. So I'm imagining it may echo her wedding bouquet. Just a thought. Right, do we have any questions coming in or any comments?
Just people worried about how quickly she passed away.
Yeah, it was so sudden. I was talking to my mum on the phone and I was saying, she looked 96. I mean, she did look old. Of course, her last official duty, her last official photograph was meeting Liz Truss. And she looked old. She had the bluing of the hands, which could potentially signify a heart condition. I'm going to tentatively say heart condition. But she was exerted, and I think she had a couple of other minor engagements on that day as well. And of course, she would have had her red boxes. So perhaps she had a little bit too much of exertion. But, what could have happened? She could have had a stroke, she could have had heart complications. These kind of things can just happen. So it was very, very sudden. She looked 96, she looked old, but she didn't look like she was about to pass away. And I think that is what surprised a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people were quite happy to see the Queen there, meeting Liz Truss, and it kind of reassured them that she was okay. And then literally, hours later, she passed away.
Another question is, what will happen to the title of Duke of Edinburgh?
I've already answered this if you're a little bit late, but the Duke of Edinburgh title was held by the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, upon Prince Philip's passing. Now that Charles is king, he is able to redistribute that title to whomever he wants, and of course that title has been earmarked for Prince Edward, so the Earl of Wessex. So in due course, we are expecting to hear about that. Now, like I said, because of the speed of how the Prince of Wales title was settled, perhaps we'll hear something about Edward in due course relatively soon. It would be good to get things settled. Can you see any other questions that are coming up?
Will the late Queen's coffin be covered in a Scottish royal standard?
Potentially, whilst her body remains in Scotland. I mean, there is, of course, the main royal standard. But like I said, I'm not entirely sure exactly what the details of the protocol is if the Queen dies in Scotland. I know about the protocols about the moving of the body. But in terms of exactly what ceremonial will take place, I don't think those details have come to light yet. So that's one where we're going to have to watch this space. But it will either be, of course, the Scottish ceremonial royal standard, or it will be the main royal standard. One or the other. So expect one or the other.
Yeah, there's a couple of comments speculating about the cause of death.
Cause of death, it was something sudden. So she could have had, I mean, again, if anyone's claiming out there that they know what the cause of death was, they don't know. But we can think about potentially what it was. So we know that she went into hospital a while ago now, and she stayed in overnight for observations. We don't know what they tested for. That remains private and confidential, her own private confidential medical records. We do know, however, that her health declined quite rapidly since the passing of Prince Philip, her husband, and of course she's had lots of stresses and strains, other family stresses and strains. All what went on with Prince Andrew caused her immense stress, and what went on and is still going on, of course, with Harry and Meghan has caused her great stress. So all those three things combined, of course the main one being the death of the Duke of Edinburgh, I think it's put external stress and pressure upon the Queen, which I'm sure, can hasten a person's passing. But in terms of what could have happened, in between meeting Liz Truss and passing away, I would say it could have been a stroke, it could have been a heart attack, it could even potentially have been, a really quick form of blood cancer. I mean, there are things and conditions that can take you just like that. So I'm imagining it could have been one of those. Will we ever know? That I am not sure about at the moment. I mean, they don't reveal living monarchs' medical records because, of course, for privacy. Now that she's passed away, will they let the cause of death be known? I don't know. Or it could be embargoed for 100 years, because it is important that future generations do know what she passed away of, but people living here right now, it's not so sure. It will need to be known for the history books, for the future people that write the history books, they will need to know what it was, but do we need to know? That is the question. And will we know? I'm not entirely sure. And of course, the great Elizabethan era, the second Elizabethan era, is now come to a close. The sun setteth at last. Do we have any other questions?
When will the Queen make her way back to Buckingham Palace?
Potentially 3 to 4 days time. Of course, I'm not entirely sure where she's going to be embalmed. I'm not entirely sure of that detail. Will it be in Scotland where she is now? Has she already been embalmed? Will she be embalmed back in England, back in London? I don't know. But the coffin will move, potentially by royal train, down to Buckingham Palace, I think it will go to first. Do we have any other?
If we've just ended the Elizabethan era, what would we call this new era?
I'm not sure. Is there anything for a child? I mean, if you were under a King George, you would have been a Georgian. We had the Great Georgian era where we had quite a few successive Georges. The second Elizabethan era is quite a simple one. The Victorian era is quite, but I'm not quite sure what. Oh, weren't the people under Charles I and II Jacobeans?
Yes.
They were Jacobeans, so perhaps we are Jacobeans? No?
Yeah, this was it.
Potentially,
the Jacobean age.
Potentially we're the Jacobean age. I'm not entirely sure of that one. Do we have another question? Anything?
So can Elizabeth be a UK princess when she was born in America?
Yes. Yes, you can. Because it's not where you're born, it's who you're born from. So Lilibet and Archie will derive what they are entitled to from their father, Prince Harry.
Wouldn't the family want to know what she died of?
The family will know. It's us, it's the general public that won't know.
I think that's it.
Okay. What to expect for the coronation? The coronation typically takes place over 12 months time. So we could be looking at a year and a half before we get a coronation. We don't know if the coronation is going to be on the scale of Queen Elizabeth's coronation. Of course, that was a massive, massive scale. Charles, presiding over a more slimmed down monarchy, could choose a more slimmed down ceremony. It could even be a shorter ceremony, but it will have all the pomp and ceremony and circumstance. It will have all the crown jewels. Oh, we should talk jewels. I know you all like to talk about jewellery. So the crown jewels, of course, will be used and worn by King Charles, and some of them, the more feminine ones, will be worn by Camilla. She potentially could wear the George IV diadem, which is the kind of one that sometimes the Queen is pictured on in money, and that she usually arrives to the opening of Parliament in. So Camilla potentially could wear those. Camilla will also have access to all of Queen Elizabeth's personal jewellery, brooches, pearls, earrings. The tiaras are not the crown jewels. So the tiaras, again, will be at the personal use of Camilla, who is, of course, the Queen Consort. Some of the tiaras potentially could be passed by Charles down for use by the new Princess of Wales. So Catherine could get a jewellery upgrade. We could see her wearing lots more glamorous, larger pieces. But it remains to be seen whether or not she would, because we're in a time of austerity. So would she want to be seen dripping in diamonds and jewels? I wouldn't say no. I want to see it. More is more, people. More is more, in my view. But I think she would be conscious of not, dripping in diamonds while people can't afford their thing. It's probably not a good look. So optically, she probably won't, but potentially she could in the future. Any other questions?
No.
No. Okay. Stephanie says more is more. I just saw that one. Will the coronation be on TV? Yes. whenever it happens, but yes, it will. Also, the funeral will be broadcast as well. Now, Christine says, so excited for a new Prince of Wales. That is the thing about British monarchy, well, monarchy in general. It's because something that is sad, something, the death of somebody is not a happy occasion. It's not a happy thing, It's not, is it? But at the same time, it heralds a new beginning. It heralds a new future. It's almost exciting, which is weird, juxtaposed with the sadness of the death that we've just gone through and the grief of the loss. So it is a weird feeling. And I think if you are feeling divided emotions, that you're feeling the sadness and the grief for the Queen, but you're also feeling the excitement and the newness of what is to come, that is monarchy, that is constitutional monarchy, and that is okay to feel that way. So if you do feel that way, I think most people feel like that because it is, the death of the former monarch heralds the beginning and the future of the next. It's going to take us on a journey to the next era, So, it's a double-edged sword. Oh yes, Rebecca, I've seen about all the changeover of the money. Yeah, so things are not going to happen immediately. The Queen's monogram, the E2R, is on post boxes. You've got her face on stamps. You've got her face on the money. It's everywhere. Government buildings, everywhere. It will be slowly phased out. So as things are replaced, as post boxes are replaced, as money sort of comes in and then gets reprinted, there will be an official portrait made. Not now, not imminently, but there will be an official portrait made. And of course, there is a switch over of sides. So for example, if you're a monarch and your face always faces right, the next monarch will always face left. Just for that kind of separation. So we will see a change of coinage, a change of notes, post boxes, anywhere where the Queen's initial is, but it will take time. Yes, Princess Anne, there's no change in title for Princess Anne. She is still the Princess Royal. But I imagine Charles will be relying on her quite a lot. Any other questions you can see that look pertinent?
Yeah, what will happen to passports going to the notes, but you've answered that.
I've answered that one.
I think we're okay.
Dawn, Lady Buckingham has reminded me of one thing. The Queen's personal employees, her staff, her servants, if you like. Of course, one of the most dedicated was Angela Kelly, the Queen's dressmaker. I'm not entirely sure what happens to the former monarch's household upon her passing. I imagine Angela Kelly, the dressmaker, will be, working or arranging on the outfit that she will be buried in, interred in, shall we say. But after that, I'm not sure whether they are kind of redistributed into other areas of the monarchy, other royal households, general Buckingham Palace staff, I think will be okay. But I'm talking about the personal, staff and attendees that attended the Queen. I'm hoping that they will have jobs found for them elsewhere. Angela Kelly is a very talented dressmaker. I could see her working with, potentially with Camilla. Now, Camilla's not going to want to have exactly the same look as the Queen. We're not going to see Camilla wearing the Queen's clothing or style of clothing. But Angela is very talented, and Stuart Parvin. And of course, Philip Tracy for hats. So I'm hoping that they will be reabsorbed and that no one's lost a job, basically. I'm hoping no one is out of employment. Any other questions?
Can we see the Queen?
Do you mean see her body? No. If you mean will there be an open casket, I know that is quite customary in other parts of the world, particularly the USA, open caskets are a thing. No, it will be a sealed casket. And of course, the final burial place will be at Windsor. Now, where Prince Charles was lowered down, not Prince Charles, where Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, was lowered down at his funeral, he will be raised up after the Queen's funeral, and they will both be interred in a private chapel where of course her father, her mother, and the ashes of Princess Margaret are. So that will be the George VI Chapel. Any other questions?
No, I think it's pretty much...
Okay, and I think we have 462 people watching. I will be doing daily updates from the cruise ship. So, like I say, if you've found this video useful, give it a thumbs up. It helps to push the video out there to more people so that more people can get the correct information as we have it now. Press subscribe, turn on the notification bell so that you know when I pop on and do a live chat. And I will be back tomorrow updating you on all the things that have happened that day. So, from me, mwah, to you all, and goodbye.
Bye, guys.